Today I want to talk about the shield I made from the video game Skyrim. So the guards in Eastmarch, and particularly the city of Windhelm, carry these shields in the game. And I really wanted to make a shield from Skyrim, and this is the first shield that I immediately thought of. I knew I wanted it to be from the Stormcloak faction, and Ulfric's bear is very iconic for the Stormcloaks. I especially think that when people think of Skyrim, this is very easily recognizable in what it stands for in the game. So it is made out of a half-inch piece of plywood that I had sitting in the backyard, and I had used it as a backing for archery practice, just in case I missed the target, the arrow wouldn't be lost. So these holes here are actual battle damage, which I think is an awesome touch. And so I cut it out with a jigsaw, cut it out, it's 24 inches in diameter. And then I carved in the rim here right into the wood, and that I just decided to abandon. I figured if I just painted the wood I could get away with it, but I think this actual fake metal here, this is actually craft foam, looks a lot better. So I'm glad I did that. I would have skipped that step if I did it again. And then I used a chisel bit on my wood burner to make these grooves that differentiate the planks. And the wood burner also gives it a darker look on the inside, so it's a little bit more depth, maybe like they're separate pieces of wood. And of course I made sure that the grain aligned with the boards just to give it that illusion. The next step was to stain the wood so that it wasn't quite as pale. I just did that in a ring around the edge. Then I printed out the bear onto several pieces of paper so that when they were taped together they made a big image that I then used as a stencil to pencil on the image onto the wood. Then I painted the blue bit around it, being careful to leave the white area blank so that I could go in and fill it in later with just 1 or 2 coats of white paint, depending on what I needed to do, so that I wasn't trying to cover up the darker blue color. Then I had to decide what I was going to do for the metal rim of the shield, and I decided that just painting straight on the wood would look bad, so I decided to use black craft foam. It's a very easy material to use. I simply cut out 2.5-inch strips and I folded them over the edge of the shield. I used a heat gun to ensure that they would accept the curve of the shield, and then I just glued them in place bit by bit. To give it the metal look, that hammered metal look, I used again a heat gun and the bottom of a kitchen knife, which I just hammered on over top of the heat gun, and that gave it these sort of depressions. I then switched to my wood burner with a flat round tip and just used that right on the foam to give it the deeper hammer marks. So once I had the foam looking the way I wanted it, I covered it in 2 layers of Plastidip, which is a spray-on rubber product that you can get from automobile stores. And that was just to seal the foam and to give it a little bit more durability. Then I gave it 2 coats of just acrylic, black and silver mixed about half and half, and that was just for the base coat. Then I dry brushed on silver. That's a technique where I just, you get the brush as dry as possible, a little amount of paint on it, and you just do the highlights, and it gives a really good aged metal look. Now I wanted the metal to look like maybe it had been neglected a little bit, so I wanted to add some rust. So I mixed red, orange, and brown acrylic paint together, got my brush as wet as possible, in the exact opposite of dry brushing, and I just pooled it up onto the parts that I thought would look good with rust, and I just let it sit for a couple of minutes, and I sponged it off as much as I could, and that left a really good, very subtle rust stains. Then just to seal in the acrylic, 2 layers of Mod Podge, not enough so that the Mod Podge will crack, but enough so that the paint won't rub off with use. So up until this point I hadn't considered doing the back of the shield. This is mainly just going to stay on my wall, but I decided that if I was going to do it I might as well do it right. So I stained the back, and I used the wood burner again to add the planks into the back. And now I decided to change one thing from the shield in the game, and that's the handles. In the game they just have one handle right in the middle here, and I thought that was a lot of weight to put on a handle of the type that they have in this game, and I wouldn't trust it as much, and this method just seemed like a better way for me to distribute the weight. So I just threw that idea out the window. It's the back of the shield, it doesn't matter. So I initially made these two straps out of craft foam, but guess what? That didn't work, it just fell right off. So my father is really nice, and he gave me this belt, which I cut up, made the handle, made the adjustable strap, and now I can shake it around as much as I want and it's not going to come off. I just screwed it straight into the back of the shield with really small screws. But I put in 4 of them for this handle, 2 of them for this, and it worked really well. I did use craft foam as sort of a padding, so that my knuckles aren't going up straight against the wood. And I think it worked out very, very well. It feels very secure. So that's it. I'm finished with the shield. I learned a lot making this project. I made a few mistakes that I learned from, and I did a lot of things right, which I thought turned out really well. I'm very happy with the shield. It's very sturdy. Because it's so heavy, it has a really good weight. When you hold it, it doesn't feel too much like a prop. And it looks like the shield from the game, which is what I was going for. The icon's brighter, I know, but when I painted it on, I just couldn't bring myself to distress it and to get rid of the shiny white and blue. It's popping a little bit in the video. I can see the monitor, and it is a little bit more dull in real life. But I did like the idea that it was bright. You know, you gotta have some Stormcloak pride, right? Fresh coat of paint. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. You can leave a like down below if you enjoyed this video. You can subscribe if you want to see more content, and I'll be back with another video soon.